Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome back to the channel. As we know, Curry's has been open for the past couple of months and has been given quite a positive reception. However, before it opened, people were moaning and complaining too much about the place, and they still are currently. Most of these points are just being extremely picky, stupid, or being biased. And in today's video, I'm going to be defending Curry's and debunking a lot of these points. Please note I will not be discussing is it Barry's or Curry's because of how controversial that topic can get. Now let's begin with the most common points I've seen. Okay, I've heard too many people say that Curry's is overpriced, and they said that Barry's was way cheaper. But here's the weird part. When it was still known as Barry's and the prices were way cheaper, they still said it was overpriced for some reason. Listen, rides cannot be free. Because if they were, we would end up with something like this again. And people will moan and complain again. Listen, fun fairs and theme parks have gone a lot higher in price because of the pandemic. They lost a lot of money during the lockdowns. Come on, £3 for going the Big Dipper. I've seen more expensive stuff than that. Overall, this complaint's just being a little bit picky. But let's move on to the dumbest one on the list. Okay, where do I even start with this one? So yes, some people say that there are no new rides at Curry's for some reason. What about the Sizzler? What about the Waltzer? What about the Beast? Also, don't forget about the Crazy Frog. Combine that with the new kids rides, the new carousel, the new Caterpillar coaster, the new Helter Skelter, and a refresh of the Dodgems, and I don't see what people are talking about. Yes, they are similar rides to former attractions, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. And also, for some reason, people think the Beast is the freak out. So tell me, does this look like that? I know they're built by the same manufacturer and do similar things, but come on. Another weird thing is people contradict themselves again during this complaint. They say when the new rides are at it, they just start moaning and complaining, which leads me on to my next point. Okay, this is another weird one. People are complaining about the fact that Curry's has fairground rides now, and all the rides are extremely tacky. And all I can say about this one is, what do you expect? Curry's primarily runs fairgrounds, so it would make sense for them to add fairground rides, either of themselves or other showmen. Another reason why there's fairground rides is because we all need to remember it's just a lease, and I doubt they'd all bring in these permanent rides just for the place to close a couple years later. Also, even when it was known as Barry's Amusements, it still did have fairground rides, and nobody was complaining about that. They also called the carousel extremely tacky, when I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I also remember back in the day people called Barry's extremely tacky as well. In my opinion, I think this is just another really silly complaint, which is just to single out Curry's for no reason. This one here is sort of a hit or miss. All the staff I've seen in Curry's are extremely friendly. Some seem eager to have a conversation. However, the main reason why people are complaining is for one reason, and I find this so silly. And I've heard this phrase too much. The staff won't let me on for free with my kids and are rude. This comes from the fact that years ago, some of the smaller rides allowed parents to ride with their kids for free. On the surface, it seemed like a great idea, but that was only for the consumer. The business would not really sustain from that. So it makes sense for Curry's not to use that system. But then everyone started complaining about it, calling it quote unquote daylight robbery. It also didn't help that people were also complaining about the staff always being on their phones. I have no idea what I'm talking about, as I've been to Curry 7 times and I've only ever seen that happen once, and even then it was just him looking at a notification, whilst waiting for the ride to load. And like I said at the start, I also don't see why people are saying the staff are rude, when all the staff I've interacted with are quite friendly and always willing to have a conversation. Especially the workers at the Jumpin' Astro and the Beast. However, people have been saying that staff at Curry's are so rude, unlike the ones at Barry's Amusements. I think the staff at Curry's are just a little bit better than the ones at Barry's. Now let's move on to the final point that's a bit controversial. Yes, I know this one will be different person to person, but I still think people are being a little bit too hard on this rule. Basically, unlike the Barry's days, Curry's do allow dogs inside, which in my opinion is quite convenient as it allows everyone to go inside and not have one person out the front holding the dogs. Yes, I know people are afraid or have allergies of dogs, but people have literally been cancelling Curry's because of it, which I think is a bit too far. Also, guide dogs were allowed during the Barry's era. Also, Kittyland allowed dogs inside, and nobody seems to be cancelling Kittyland or back in the day Barry's. I also do understand that it's different because Curry's is mainly indoors, and some dogs will react differently to an indoor amusement park. But I think the dog owner should know before going into Curry's if their dog would be fine going in there. Please note this is just my opinion, and I don't mind if you don't like Curry's. Note that there are way more complaints than this, but most of them only have one or two people saying about it, so I didn't really want to include them. Thank you for watching today's video, and goodbye.
Oh my gosh! That is like super intense! Oh, we're literally being one! Oh my